Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to the Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant podcast, where we explore the extraordinary world of organ transplantation. I'm your host, BJ Odom. Each week we share inspiring stories and introduce you to remarkable individuals sharing their own transplant stories. Be sure to support the podcast by leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform. Have a transplant story yourself you'd like to share or comments about the podcast? Let us know by sending an email to giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to connect with us on Facebook at Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. And also check out our website, giftoflifepodcast.com. Welcome to episode 69. Truly a family affair. Mother, daughter, both working at LifeLink, Florida. Carmen Negron, Carmen Tipton, and sister Aliris, a pancreas recipient. And we can't forget about Dad, waiting for a kidney transplant. I'll admit, I got a little lost a few times, but everything came together as we continue to honor National Multi-Ethnic Donor Awareness Month, celebrated each August by the National Multicultural Action Group, working to promote a positive culture around organ, eye, and tissue donation, particularly in diverse communities that have historically been underrepresented in donations and transplantation. So just sit back and relax and enjoy these lovely ladies as they tell their own stories here on The Gift of Life, coming up next. I do believe the best way to start this out, and of course I do want to say we are recording this and I am not seeing these people, so I may get lost every now and again. But if you would, ladies, introduce yourselves.
My name is Aliris. I am a pancreas transplant recipient.
And my name is Carmen T. I am the youngest of this crew, and I work for LifeLink of Florida in the OPO quality.
Okay, and one more Carmen, right?
Yes, and I am Carmen Negron, and I also work for LifeLink in the finance and accounting department.
So
and I am the chair. I am the biggest caregiver.
So this is like a family affair for sure, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Sure. My father is also on the kidney list, waiting for a kidney transplant as well, and he's had some involvement with LifeLink in the past. So it's kind of a family affair.
So who got started in the whole organization, or who got started first with LifeLink, and how did that come about?
Well, originally when we moved to Tampa, we came directly from Puerto Rico. And I started working for Dr. Samuel Weinstein, and that's when I learned about LifeLink. I met all the people that was involved in the billing and what have you for the doctors. And then after I had Carmen, little Carmen, we moved back to Puerto Rico, and then we decided it was time to come back to Florida. And that's when I started with LifeLink.
Okay.
At that time, Aliris was, you were 15.
What year was it that you started with LifeLink?
Oh, I started with LifeLink in 1998.
Okay, so
I've been there 27 years.
So you've seen quite a bit in the transplant world then, haven't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and
so as I was working at LifeLink, one of the nurses coordinators knew about Aliris' brittle diabetic episodes, that she will go to the 900s or either calling 911 to wake her up because her sugar were too low. And she asked me one day, why don't she get a transplant? I said, well, I never thought about it. We called the doctor. She got the evaluation. And after all of that, she got listed and waiting for pancreas. The good thing about it is that her kidneys were still good, so she only needed the pancreas to move on in life.
Good deal then. So she has a pancreas. Now, so wait, now let me get this straight now. So now does she work for LifeLink?
No,
I do not work for LifeLink.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so the one who has the transplant does not work for LifeLink, but that must have been a blessing to have, relatives there that were working and could kind of explain it to you and help you through the process, I would think, right?
Yes, especially because, they were around it. My mom was around medicine pretty much her whole career. So she had a little bit of knowledge. And then, having the close friends that worked there, like the nurse, that she mentioned, the Dr. Weinstein, he had seen me for nephrology. He was my nephrologist at the time. And so, he was an easy doctor to talk to, and he explained everything. And I was very surprised at the beginning when they mentioned this, because I was like, what is this? What is this about? What am I going to have to go through?
Mm-hmm.
And, we went back and forth, and of course, a lot of testing, a lot of pre-ops, and you have to get everything checked, and then I was finally listed, and the transplant ended up in February of 2012.
Okay, congratulations, and everything's been going fine so far with that.
So far, so good. Yes,
that is good to hear. Now I've got a heart and a kidney, so that's amazing too. So happy about that.
Yes, very amazing. Definitely. Yeah.
And so let me see. Let's start with I'm going to get you guys confused all podcasts long. I just want people to know that. I'm trying to connect the dots here. But so who started?
It happens often. It's okay.
Who started with LifeLink first?
Mom did.
Carmen.
Mom did.
Negron.
Carmen Negron.
Okay, so you started with LifeLink. Now, how did that come about? How was it? Just you didn't know about really a whole lot about the transplant world because you had no one in your family with a transplant up to the time where you started, right?
Correct. Like I said, when I moved to Tampa, I started working with Dr. Weinstein, and I was there for 5 years. 5 years. And that's how I learned about everything related to kidneys and transplants and what have you. Excuse me. And then I met everybody over the phone, with the billing questions and learning everything that was related to that. And as I make all these connections, when I came back from Puerto Rico in 1998, actually. That's when I first started working with LifeLink. I got my interview over the phone. My contract was faxed. Everything was done. And then I got here on a Sunday and I started working on a Monday.
Wow. Can't.
And I've been there since then. Yeah.
And then you bring your daughter along after a while because she was, as she got older and was ready to go to work. And then did you help her find a job?
Actually, she just got her position. She applied when she saw the opening, and it was just meant to be. It was just meant to be. She grew up being a LifeLink family because she participated in all the activities with us, and everybody knows her over there.
I saw a lot of familiar faces on my first day in a new job, so that's always fun.
They all call her Little Carmen because they know everything about my family, And she interviewed, and they loved her, and she got the job.
Awesome. Now, so then what do you do for LifeLink then as you've come on board now?
Mom Carmen or daughter Carmen?
Well, daughter Carmen, because you came second. So that's what what is your position there?
Yeah, so I am the assistant manager of the quality systems department in the OPO. I've been with LifeLink for a little over 4 years. And I started in QA, and I've just kind of worked my way up in that department.
And now, why don't you explain a little bit? I know, a lot of people that do listen to this podcast know about transplants and are aware, but what actually does your job entail?
So I work in an office setting. I'm not anyone that goes into the hospitals. I don't speak. And on that side, I am part of the after. So I get all of the documentation that is completed during the donor process, and I make sure that everything is done per our protocols and our policies, and that everything is correct.
Good deal. So then you're not actually dealing with the families as far as when someone passes. Then it's not your job to explain about the transplants and trying to get the organs procured. Then, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I'm strictly in the office. Not I don't leave behind my desk.
Or deal with any family.
Yeah. Yeah. I do. I am an organizer, a LifeLink volunteer. So I do volunteer my time in those community events so that I can interact with the public and provide education and dispel those myths that are around organ donation and transplantation. So that's how I get my face-to-face time with the public.
Okay,
and not because she's my daughter, but she makes a great job on that. I was very, very impressed in the last time because the three of us are active as volunteers.
And of course, you're probably very busy this month. The month of August, we celebrate National Multi-Ethnic Donor Awareness Month. So I bet all three of you are out doing lots and lots of talks this month, aren't you?
Yeah.
Now,
there's a couple of events, and I think the kidney walk is later this month as well. So definitely going to get out there.
Now, what are some of the things that you tell the public to try to make them better aware, for people in your community to not only be donors, but also, if they need an organ transplant, not to be afraid and go for it?
Well, in my case, so this is Aliris. In my case, when I talk to people, I talk about my experience as a transplant recipient, because I know not many people, not regularly, they don't meet a person with a transplant. They don't know what a person with a transplant maybe looks like or, goes through or, so I definitely talk about my experience, and everybody's usually wowed. And I'm like, with people like you that, want to be a donor and, want to get this done, save a life, you're saving somebody like myself. So that usually, I get good feedback from people when they hear, my story.
Now, I know you have a pancreas, and I don't know if you get the same thing I get a lot of times, but when I go out and meet people and talk about the world of transplants, and they find out that I've had a heart transplant, they're just like almost taken back in their seats going, you look normal. Well, yeah, that's kind of
right.
That's kind of why I got the transplant. Do they do the same with you?
Right. That's usually the first response is like, wow, you don't look like you have a transplant. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever it's supposed to look like. But but no, it's a really cool experience, to be able to share that. And as far as pancreas, it's not a very common, at least like what I had it isolated. For. Yeah, it's because it's isolated, so it's pancreas only. And the reason why I got a transplant is because I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was diagnosed when I was 5 years old. And, I lived my life, with the insulin injections, with the checking the sugars. As I grew up, everything, just gets very brittle. And, I would drive myself to the hospital with a sugar of 900, because I didn't feel good. Or like my mom mentioned earlier, they would have to call 911 to bring me back to life because I was in the coma with a sugar of 10 or 20, So that's why my physician wanted to proceed with doing this because he thought that, eventually I could be harmful to myself or others, like if I was driving and, I could get in an accident. So anyways, that's kind of what prompted us to to do this process and get things going. So I'm very grateful for all of the LifeLink, staff and Tampa General. Everybody's just wonderful. Everybody that deals with this, very compassionate people.
Now, I will admit that I have had very few pancreas recipients on the podcast. We've been doing this now for well over a year. And so this is something that I'm going to ask you because I never really thought about it because I haven't had that many patients on. Now, are you on insulin or how is your diabetes managed today, if I may ask?
No. So I am not diabetic. I have testing done, I get my sugars checked, but I'm not diabetic. So I do not take any insulin. I take my anti-rejection medications. I take 2 of them. But that's it. Because I lived pretty much my whole life trying to be careful with, for example, sugars, everything that a diabetic goes through, I still don't go for sugar. So for example, if I'm going to have, let's say I want a soda, which I don't usually drink soda, but if I want a soda, I'm going to go for a Diet Coke. I'm not going to go for like a regular soda.
You're already used to it.
Because I'm just used to, that's my life. That's what I've done my whole life. I don't go try to eat, cakes, and I kind of stay away from all of that.
They gave her regular sugar the next day that she had the transplant.
And I asked for Splenda.
Sugar,
yeah, I asked for Splenda. I was like, I don't like that. But I'm not, to answer your question, I'm not diabetic. So I don't have to deal with any of that anymore. Thank goodness, yes.
And you said at an early age you were diagnosed with this. So obviously that became, like you said, that became your normal. That's the way you grew up. You were used to doing these things. And now
correct.
It's like you don't need to, but it's so much you're normal, you continue. Which
right. It's a habitual thing.
Oh, very good for you then. Now, I noticed we talked about, especially with National Multi-Ethnic Donor Awareness Month, a lot of myths roll around the Hispanic community. And maybe we can clear some of those up today.
Actually, being from Puerto Rico, there was not as much people, I can say, register for organ donors. Through the years that I've been at LifeLink, we have recognized a lot of education has been done, and more people is aware of what they could do to help others. Because being, I don't want to say being an island, and the people there was like very family oriented, but there was not much education like it is nowadays. And now everybody is aware and they sign up to be donors, and, it's more open.
Now,
to the community.
Let me ask you this, because I know, actually Puerto Rico is part of LifeLink of Florida and Georgia and Puerto Rico. Do you guys ever return to Puerto Rico and talk about organ donation?
Well, not for organ donation specific, but we used to go every year to visit the island and spend time with the family.
Okay.
I get in contact with the LifeLink office all the time because, part of the work, but
as far as us, like we do events here that we go speak with people, we don't do that. They should offer that, right?
We would all hop on a plane really quickly. We will all hop on that plane.
That's what I'm thinking.
Talk to family. Yeah, we do talk to family, and my cousins, they're all signed up to be donors, and they always tell me, oh, I'm a donor, very proud of it. And there is, like I said, there is a lot of education now that has helped a lot of people to do so.
And so that's actually, you're not the ladies that have been doing it, but so a lot of that information and education is going out now, even in Puerto Rico. So that's good to hear.
Yes.
So now, what else do you ladies do besides, when you go out? Do you ever go out in a group? So that's kind of what I'm thinking now. So tell me what each one of you will share when you go out and do one of your talks.
I I reference my sister a lot, just having this personal connection and seeing how her life has been impacted by receiving a transplant. I was very young when she received it, or I wasn't young when you received it, but I was a child as you were going through the worst of it, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So just seeing the difference now is something that I reference a lot. And now working with LifeLink, growing up, going to the events that my mom would volunteer at, and just seeing how they honor the families and honor the donors. I reference that a lot as well, just the legacy that donors are able to leave by giving this gift. So that's something that I reference a lot when I'm talking to others about donation, and that's mainly what I reference.
And what else? Now, you other ladies, what do you really try to push home?
Push.
So when you're talking to the public, like what do
the
you
same
tell?
thing. How people get like right now, my husband, she told you, he's in the waiting list for kidney. So it's like every time we had the opportunity to talk to someone and said, you could be an organ donor and save so many lives, and help the people that is waiting to receive the gift of life.
Now, your husband
Making it personal too, like Aliris said, a lot of people are surprised when she tells them that she's a recipient. Well, I mean, I'm sure someone in your family, might know someone that is on dialysis, or you might know someone in your family that has diabetes. So I think making a personal connection too opens people's eyes and makes them feel more connected to that.
Now, I want to share a story with you ladies that someone I had on the podcast, and I bring this gentleman up often because he actually lost his wife probably maybe 3 or 4 years before he actually found out that he was going to need a liver transplant. And when he was in that room and LifeLink came, or whatever it was, because he was from Tennessee, came to have the talk with him, he was like an absolutely not, no way. And now let's fast forward through 3 or 4 years, and he needs a liver. And now he has a liver transplant. And he, told me on this podcast, and that's kind of his speech too, that if he knew that day what he knows today, it would have been 100% turned the other way. So I think a lot of times, if people aren't associated or they don't have a relative, I think it's really hard for them to understand. So it is good when people go out and talk and things like that. And like I said, he just wished that he could live that all over again, because he said it probably even made my wife happy to know that, we gave her organs to someone so they could live. So I just think that's a very touching story that almost, we need to remind a lot of people of.
Yes, definitely.
Now, as you ladies go out and have your talks, what has maybe touched you the most? What has someone come back after one of your talks, or what have you learned while you were out talking with the people that, man, you go, whoa, I didn't realize that, or that really hit me in my gut?
That's tough. We got,
That's really tough. I mean, a lot of the interactions that we have with the public are so positive. It's more of us being able to provide the information. They're very receptive. But for me personally, and this is Carmen T, I volunteered last year at our Tree of Life event, and I know our Family Services Department just released the video of this year's Tree of Life event, and it was really impactful for me to connect with the donor families and just sharing the stories of their loved ones and getting to know them better, and just having that personal connection that way was really impactful for me. But when speaking in the public at different events, it's more so us providing the information that they're finding in new for them or wow for them.
Okay. That's understood. Yeah. Because doing this podcast, the episodes that really, get me, I shouldn't say, but, I've had a couple of them, where I definitely have tears, and it definitely gives me that gut punch, like I say. But that is the mothers, the donor mothers and the donor families, when they share their stories and, they talk about their loved ones and how much their legacy lives through organ donation. Those are the episodes that really, I mean, probably because I have a heart. I had a couple mothers on that said, I got to hear my son's heartbeat in another body. And some of those stories are, for me, are just truly amazing.
Yes, it is. Indeed.
Now, is there anything that I may have missed or something you ladies really want to make sure that we get out on the podcast today?
We just want to let everybody know how important it is to be a donor and how many lives they could save. It is, and it's rewarding. It's rewarding to see that people sign up and be donors.
Yeah, I mean, health conditions don't care about color. They affect everyone, from every kind of community. And to be able to help one another, no matter where you're from, what you look like, I think it's really important for us to do that.
All right. Well, I want to thank you ladies for coming on. And I'm sorry I was so confused, because I was thinking too, if we could do this through Zoom, but we had some technical problems, so we're doing this over the phone today. But
well, at least we make you laugh, right?
I was trying to follow along and trying to figure out who everybody is. And one of these days, I'm gonna have to get together with you three ladies, and that way I will.
Oh, that would be awesome!
I will know each one, and I will know each one's story a whole lot better. But I thank you so much for sharing and telling your stories and telling us what you do for LifeLink. And I'm just very proud of y'all, and thanks a lot for joining us here on National Multi-Ethnic Donor Awareness Month. And you ladies keep everybody out there aware of what is going on. Can you do that for me?
Yes, BJ. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, BJ, and thank you for what you do also, because it's
the awareness.
Yeah,
everybody with
the podcast.
All right. Well, I thank you, ladies. If there's nothing else that one of you would like to jump on and tell me before we go, I think we'll call this one a wrap.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much, BJ, for your time. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for coming on and sharing your stories. Be sure to join us each week for a new heartfelt episode of Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. If you have a transplant story, email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, and also don't forget to share and like this episode with family and friends. And we would appreciate that 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Another podcast you might enjoy, myself and former radio morning partner, BJ and Bill, the podcast, all on the Podcast Playground Network. And we want to thank them for making this podcast possible. Until next time, I'm BJ Odom. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey and reminding us all to appreciate each and every day and to treasure the extraordinary gift of life.
He was running on empty, heart fading fast. Doctor said, man, you ain't gonna last. But a stranger's kindness, a gift so true, turned the night sky into something new. He got a second chance, he got a brand new spark. Like a freight train rolling back from the dark. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. 15 years later, the road got rough. The fight ain't over when the climb is tough. Needed a kidney, the race was on. Another hero stepped up, kept him strong. Every breath he takes is a tale of hope. life saved, another can cope. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. Doctor's hands, a donor's grace, running on down to a brand new place. Second chances don't come twice, but when they do, man, they feel so nice. So let's spread the word, let the people know. One yesterday lets a miracle grow. You don't need wings just to save a man, just a little love, a helping hand. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. BJ still rocking, still standing tall, thanks to the ones who gave it all. Gift of life, hear the sound. Pass it on, pass it down. The Gift of Life podcast, hosted by BJ Odom. Listen now.